Back here on First Things First, it's time for Say What? Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are two of the 4 Warriors in the All-Star game. And with the draft results being announced tonight, there's a lot of pressure on Steph, him, to pick his guys. Klay Thompson, say what?
I'm just happy to be there, man. It's an honor to be an All-Star. I'm not going to... I'll probably actually request a trade if he doesn't pick me. So, I'm just kidding. But it would be fun. I'm actually pretty excited for that. I wish they would announce it publicly, because I think it'd be hilarious who was the last pick. But it's still awesome just to be there. You know, being an All-Star, I wouldn't even care if I was the last pick. It'd just be fun to poke fun at that person.
Grade school jokes.
I like Klay. Underspoken, understated.
Yeah.
I mean, a great pro. Plays on every night. Like, doesn't get the credit that he deserves. Probably the second best shooter that I might have seen in my lifetime.
Wow.
He's that good.
Just like Ben Simmons.
Klay
3 feet to 33 feet.
Klay hasn't changed at all. His play, the number of shots he takes, his disposition, his shooting percentage. He's been the same guy from the year before they won the first title to right now.
And a great defender.
Great defender. And now what should be noted is Klay tweeted last night, I guess I won't have to demand that trade, Steph Curry, excited to play with you, and then immediately erase that tweet.
He walks it back.
Because it's not supposed to come out. I do wonder, as far as televising the draft, why couldn't they publicize, like, the first 6 picks? Even if they just want to avoid whoever's picked last, like, it would be interesting to, at the very least, see the first few picks. But
because it's just like the NBA. They don't have a bunch of tough guys.
Oh, my
bunch of
God.
little softies.
All the
Stories to
shots
start your
at the
morning after
association.
feeling as though his teammate got snubbed. Russell Westbrook defended Paul George's All-Star cred to the media. That apparently went a long way for Paul George, who said that Russ' support makes his impending free agency decision easier. CC's starting to look like George will stay in OKC long term?
I thought there was a great possibility of that. And not only just because of Russ, it's because of the organization. It's a great organization to play for. They do a lot of things to cater to the players to make them very, very comfortable, even though it's a small market. Their fan base, they play in front of a sold-out crowd that's energetic at home. So I thought that. But as far as being slighted for the All-Star team, you have to realize you're in the West now, son. You're in a different NBA. When you're in the Eastern Conference, they would give you that courtesy because you're on a bad team or an average team with the Pacers. You're in the West. Chris Paul didn't make it. Lou Williams didn't make it. So welcome to the Wild Wild West.
It is following Paul George and his either happiness level or future in OKC. It's like an EKG. It's just like up and down over the course of the year. In the beginning of the year, we were super excited. About 6 weeks in, we're like, should they just trade him right now? He's definitely not staying. And now he's talking about staying long term. He appreciates the loyalty, the undying loyalty that Russell Westbrook has shown throughout his career, and they are playing well right now. Also noteworthy, if he does stay there, LeBron of the Lakers is gone and dead. Like, it doesn't mean LeBron's staying in Cleveland, but if he stays in Oklahoma City, then LeBron's not going to L.A., which is because they were kind of a package deal.
Yeah, I think there's kind of been some other things that happened, too. Drafting a guy and his parents, that might have got him off of L.A., too.
All right, guys, in the words of Ice Cube, Ben Simmons messed around and got double digits in 3 categories last night. The rookie phenom had a pretty good night. 19 points, 17 boards, 14 assists in a Sixers win over the Bulls. It's Simmons' 5th triple-double this season. Nick, is this kid the clear-cut rookie of the year?
Right now he is, and that's no disrespect to CC's guy, Donovan Mitchell, or CC's other guy, Kyle Kuzma.
No.
Ben Simmons has been...
No disrespect.
It's not.
Into a guy who can't shoot.
And
there's an asterisk on it. He was hurt last year.
There's no asterisk. Blake Griffin won a rookie of the year like that.
No, okay.
This is his rookie year.
If we would have been having a show, I would have been like, it would have been an asterisk on that.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Ben Simmons has been the best rookie. Now, he does have an advantage that he got to watch and learn the NBA lifestyle a year. But Donovan Mitchell, or Kyle Kuzma, pardon me, has an advantage if he played multiple years in college. Kuzma's older than Ben Simmons is. You got to go by what the rules are. He's been the best rookie despite not being able to shoot outside of 5 feet.
No, he can't shoot outside of 5 feet. I think he shoots 36%, Jenna, outside of 5 feet. So, yeah, remarkable. NBA guy. Yeah, rookie of the year.
My favorite part about the show.
36% outside of 5 feet.
The basketball players who don't shoot the basketball. Finally, we all have bad moments. We all have things we wish we could have done or said differently. We all have moments in games when after getting the technical foul, we walk around staring aggressively at a ref, not letting it go even after other players hold you back, and then you get kicked out of a game. We all have that. After Kevin Durant got ejected for an NBA high 4th time in 2 nights, 2 nights ago, rather, he said some not nice things about the ref that tossed him. Looking back on it, KD knows he was out of line.
I wasn't getting picked on last night. I was being a diva last night. I gotta just own up to it. I watched it when I got home. I was like, man, I was wondering why he was coming at me so hard, but then I watched the plays. I was like, yeah, I look like a jerk out there. Just, yeah, it was bad. I mean, luckily we won and we can move past it, and I can kind of own up to it. So I'll be better next time.
Do you agree? You think he'll be better next time? Was this it? Was KD like, hey, you know what? I'm sorry for all those things I did. I'm back to being the old Kevin Durant.
I hope that this is sincere. I hope that he's able to keep to it. And am I optimistic of it? I'm neutral. I'm not. I wouldn't bet for or against. I'm ready. What we do know is KD has, this wasn't a one-off thing from last night. There's a reason he has more ejections than any team in the NBA this year. There's a reason that he's been in the headlines and a topic of this show for non-basketball reasons more than just about any player other than LeBron James this season and this past offseason with the shoes and the cupcake stuff to Russ and the multiple Twitter accounts and all these things that were nothing like the Kevin Durant we thought we got to know in Oklahoma City. The Kevin Durant that was, even though he wasn't the best player in the world, probably the most popular player in the world. I said yesterday, right now the only likable thing about Kevin Durant is how he plays basketball. I hope he gets back to being more of an ambassador for the league as he is one of the 2 or 3 best players on the planet. So I'll believe it when I see it. But that was a hell of a first step. That was a good step in that direction because that was a side of Kevin Durant we haven't seen in a while.
It's refreshing. It's nice for him to be candid. It's nice that he has perspective and is able to self-reflect. There are a lot of people in this world, they have no clue of what they really look like and what they sound like. So it was nice that he was able to look at it and be like, wow, that's not something that I like. And he fessed up to it that it wasn't the referee's fault. It was his fault. So he will try to do better. He said that. So for me, I like to listen to the interviews, and I like to give people benefit of the doubt. But also, I have all the years of him being in OKC where I really like Kevin Durant. I know people who know Kevin Durant personally, and he's not a mean-spirited guy. Kevin Durant just wants to play basketball, man. That's all he was about, was playing basketball, getting better at his skill. And I even said this about him, and not in a derogatory way, that he was like a mama's boy. He was been raised by his mom, him and his brother, and I was raised by my mom. I'm a mama's boy, but to me it looked like his mom saw this game, called him after the game, and was like, KD, like that was not a good look, son. Like, and then he was like, okay, mom, like, yeah, so this is the KD that I'm used to. I hope we get back more to this compared to some of the other petty stuff that he's been drug into with this NBA soap opera.
Look, for a guy who's so image conscious, he's really gone a far, far, far distance from the guy that we knew who was this person that we all seem to like. But maybe you're right. Give him the benefit of the doubt. All right, let's talk some football. We're just hours away now from Super Bowl 52. A mere 250 hours. 49-ish hours. And while the game does not ever really focus on one player, there is one player we are focused on this morning, and his name is Rob Gronkowski. We learned yesterday that the 5-time Pro Bowler did indeed suffer a concussion on his Barry Church hit in the AFC Conference Championship game. The Patriots officially listed him on their injury report for next Sunday. So, Cece, how pivotal is Gronk to the outcome of the Super Bowl for the Patriots?
It's pivotal because we can't lose sight just how special Rob Gronkowski is. I point out all the time, I believe he's their best offensive lineman. He is their best run blocker in the run game. So when you see if he's not in the lineup, even though they still run the ball because they don't want to be one-dimensional, their ability to run the ball at a high rate to average 4.5 a carry. Like, the numbers don't dictate, but you can see how the game plan changes because he's so versatile. I had a conversation with Tom Brady this summer. The only time I've really had a conversation with him, and that was through Mr. Kraft FaceTime when we were in Israel. He had called him, and he let me get on the phone, and he introduced me to Tom. Tom knew exactly who I was, and I told him, did you hear the good news? He was like, no, what is it? I said, I'm joining the Patriots. He's like, wow, that is great. He said, I've been telling him, the first thing he said, I've been telling him for years, get rid of all those little small guys and get me some big receivers. That's why I love Randy so much. And this is not the first quarterback told me this. Warren Moon, when he played the run and shoot in Houston, when he first came to Minnesota and we broke the NFL record the first year, myself and Jake Reed, us being 6'2.5" and 6'4", he said what an advantage it was finally throwing to big guys. Our catch radius, he didn't have to aim the ball down, and it made the game easier for him. So I know through two of the greatest quarterbacks ever played, Warren Moon, first ballot Hall of Famer, and Tom Brady, he personally told me he likes throwing to big guys. Look at the other guys. Look at Brandon Cook. Look at Danny Amendola. Look at Wes Welker.
The rapport that he instantly developed with Chris Hogan last year, because that was all of a sudden, even though Chris Hogan isn't wildly skilled,
yes,
it's a bigger receiver.
Yeah, the margin of error, especially when you're throwing the ball deep down the field, because what a quarterback sees, and when he can't see his wide receiver's helmet proportioned over the defensive back, all quarterbacks get nervous.
For Brady's comfort alone, he wants to have Gronk back in there. Forget the production value that Gronk can actually contribute, just for Brady's sake, and be able to open up the offense a little bit.
Absolutely. And I understand that the Patriots win almost the same percentage of games with and without Gronk. And that is a testament to their organization, to Brady, to Belichick, to the other guys who we don't talk about as much.
Also, how many games did they win without Brady?
Right, that's a great point. They went 11-5 the year without him, and then 3-1 during his suspension. So, I mean, that is a machine they have in New England. But in the biggest spots, in the biggest moments, if they need a huge play, historically, who have they gone to? Gronk. I mean, think about the two Super Bowls they lost. The big Hail Mary play at the end. One to Randy Moss. He damn near came down with it. The other Super Bowl lost to the Giants. Who's the guy diving on the ground that almost comes up with it? Rob Gronkowski. And you don't even need to get that extreme in the moments. The conference championship game, which is this true? Yeah. The last playoff game the Patriots lost was the AFC Conference Championship in 2016. In that game, Gronk, 8 catches, 144 yards, a touchdown, and a 4th and 10 conversion to keep the game alive 30 yards downfield. The Super Bowl against Seattle, last Super Bowl Gronk played in, 6 catches, a touchdown, enormous in that game. How about the divisional game, a really close playoff game against Baltimore, where Baltimore scored 31 points.
Yes.
Gronk's targeted 13 times, 7 catches, 108. In the biggest spots, teams go to their best player. What would Brad Johnson say to you in the biggest spots before Randy got there?
Yes.
You're there, no disrespect to Jake Reed and no disrespect to the play caller, whatever it's called. What would he say to you?
Man, they called a play, and he'd look at me. He called a play. Let's go scat right, double pump on 2, and we clap and break the huddle. He look at me. Is there any doubt? and let me know, regardless of what the coverage is, regardless of what route I had, I'm coming to you unless there's some type of blitz.
All right. Good stuff. All right, coming up, the latest chaos surrounding LeBron James and the Cavs. It's next. First things first.